Picture holding a lightweight infantry rifle, weighing less than 10 pounds, that violently dumps 20 rounds of full-power, armor-piercing 8mm Mauser ammunition in exactly 1.3 seconds. You are holding the devastating, sustained firepower of a heavy, crew-served machine gun ingeniously crammed into a delicate weapon no larger than a standard hunting rifle. It is an absolute mechanical contradiction, specifically engineered for elite men who hurled themselves out of perfectly good airplanes directly into active combat zones. This is the ultimate airborne multi-tool, defying the basic laws of recoil management. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I am Dr. James Hoffer, a military historian and aerospace technology specialist. Today, we are entirely bypassing standard infantry weapons to deeply examine the absolute crown jewel of German military engineering, the wildly ambitious, heavily over-engineered Fallschirmjägergewehr 42, universally known as the FG-42. Let us jump straight into the blistering high cyclic specs of this airborne masterpiece. To understand the sheer terrifying brilliance of the FG-42, we must look at the impossible demands placed upon its creator. The German Luftwaffe explicitly wanted a highly compact weapon that fired the massive, full-size 8mm Mauser rifle cartridge. They demanded it be perfectly accurate as a designated marksman rifle out to 600 yards. Furthermore, they wanted it to possess the blistering, fully automatic suppressive fire of an MG-34 heavy machine gun, running at an astonishing 900 rounds per minute. And most impossibly, they demanded this entire package weigh no more than a standard bolt-action Kar 98K infantry rifle so it could be securely strapped directly to the chest of a falling paratrooper. Louis Stange, the brilliant lead engineer at Rheinmetall, looked at this ridiculous list of demands and somehow actually built it. The absolute greatest engineering trick of the FG-42 lies entirely hidden inside its hyper-complex trigger mechanism. When you firmly flip the heavy steel selector switch to semi-automatic, the rifle intelligently fires from a closed bolt. This means when you pull the trigger, only the tiny firing pin moves, ensuring absolute pinpoint sniper accuracy without the heavy mechanical clunk of a massive steel bolt slamming forward to drastically disrupt your delicate aim. But when you are violently pinned down by enemy fire and instantly flip that same selector to fully automatic, the entire internal geometry completely changes. It now operates from an open bolt. The heavy bolt carrier rigidly locks completely to the rear. When you pull the trigger, the massive bolt violently slams forward, rapidly stripping a heavy cartridge from the magazine, firing it, and locking back open again. This brilliant open bolt function allows massive amounts of cooling atmospheric air to constantly flow directly through the blistering hot chamber, effectively preventing the weapon from catastrophically cooking off ammunition during sustained suppressive fire. It is quite literally two completely different, highly complex firearms seamlessly existing inside a single lightweight receiver. The magazine placement is another stroke of pure aggressive combat pragmatism. Standard battle rifles utilize large bottom-feeding magazines that force the shooter to awkwardly lift their upper body high off the dirt when firing prone, fatally exposing their head to enemy return fire. The FG-42 boldly features a side-feeding 20-round box magazine extending horizontally straight out from the left side, allowing the paratrooper to completely flatten their body against the earth while laying down heavy automatic fire. The desperate, bloody necessity for this mechanical masterpiece was born on the rocky hills of Crete in May of 1941. During the massive airborne invasion, German Fallschirmjäger suffered absolutely catastrophic casualties that nearly wiped out their elite fighting force. The fatal flaw was their drop doctrine. Because standard German parachutes were poorly engineered and attached via a single point on the back, paratroopers could not physically jump with heavy weapons. They leaped out of their transport planes armed only with pistols and extremely short-range submachine guns. Their heavy rifles and vital machine guns were dropped in completely separate supply canisters. When the paratroopers hit the dirt, they were immediately pinned down by highly accurate, long-range British rifle fire, desperately sprinting across open ground just to reach their weapons. Hermann Göring, the powerful head of the Luftwaffe, was deeply appalled by this massive slaughter. He demanded a universal weapon that dropped attached directly to the soldier, instantly ready to aggressively return fire the absolute second their boots hit the soil. Now, as you watch this incredible high-speed footage of the FG-42 violently spitting heavy brass across the firing line, I want to ask you a quick question. If you were forced to aggressively jump out of a transport aircraft over hostile enemy territory, what historically accurate World War II firearm are you stubbornly clutching to your chest? Let me know your ultimate survival choices in the comments below right now. When you actually step up to the firing line and squarely shoulder the FG-42, the physical experience is deeply jarring and overwhelmingly violent. To aggressively counteract the brutal, shoulder-shattering kick of firing a full-power machine gun cartridge from an incredibly light rifle, the engineers designed the weapon in a perfectly straight line. The buttstock sits directly in line with the barrel, driving the explosive recoil straight back into your shoulder rather than allowing the muzzle to violently whip upward. The muzzle itself is capped with a massive, highly aggressive multi-baffle brake that loudly redirects the concussive high-pressure gases entirely sideways. When you pull the trigger on fully automatic, the sheer noise is absolutely deafening. The weapon practically buzzes in your hands at 900 rounds per minute, violently throwing an impenetrable wall of heavy lead downrange. However, physics simply cannot be completely cheated. Firing the FG-42 on full auto from a standing position is an aggressive, exhausting wrestling match against a violent machine desperately trying to climb into the stratosphere. It violently rattles your teeth, forcefully shoves you backward, and requires immense physical strength just to keep the sights aligned. Ultimately, the Fallschirmjägergewehr 42 was simply too brilliant, vastly too complex, and aggressively too expensive to mass-produce during a desperate global war of attrition. Intricate milled steel components and highly complex dual-sear mechanisms demanded immense manufacturing time that a rapidly crumbling Nazi Germany did not possess. Only about 7,000 units were ever successfully built, rendering it an incredibly rare battlefield ghost. However, its absolute mechanical genius did not die in the smoking rubble of 1945. When American ordnance engineers meticulously examined captured FG-42 rifles after the war, they were completely blown away. They literally stripped the exact operating system directly from the German FG-42, flawlessly combined it with the reliable belt feed mechanism of the MG-42, and successfully created the legendary American M60 machine gun that would brutally dominate the jungles of Vietnam decades later. The FG-42 stands today as an absolute monument to desperate military engineering. It was the wildly ambitious multi-tool of the skies that attempted to be absolutely everything to a falling soldier, and against all odds, succeeded. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredibly fast-paced dive into history. I am Dr. James Hoffer, and I will eagerly see you in the next one.